It was just to have a kind of a room. We hadn't defined the use of it. I mean, I think the application was submitted as a studio. The structure is kind of simple in one sense, but actually it was technically very difficult to make. There were lots of potential problems, you know, sort of water draining off and how you join the panels. He's actually made it so the panels could be removed should there ever be a need for a repair. It was just an overfilled garage. This is now my home office. All the people in the family have a use for it. So I have a daughter that's a dancer, and then it's kind of it's in constant use. It looks bigger than I thought it would, actually. In one sense it seemed a lot of work for not a very big space, but in fact it's generous enough for all the things we need to do, so I'm very pleased with that.
The property had been split into two separate flats, a lower and an upper, including a poorly built two-storey stair tower on the rear elevation. The brief was to join those two halves together to make one family home. We decided that we would take that two-storey extension down and rebuild with a single-storey extension with the roof terrace on top that let much more light into the back of the house and gave a good connection down into the garden. The whole house was reorganised with kitchen accommodation going to the street-facing room, opening up a large living space from front to back and making 4 bedrooms on the lower storey. We're surveying the original stair tower and found a remnant of an original curved stair tower, and that sparked an idea about reinstating a curved building form centrally placed on the rear facade, and that gave a kind of elegant, rounded form that had a good scale and a good character in relation to the original Georgian building. It's quite playful, balustrading and the way the steps wrap around the outside of the curved shape.
The design gave us a space that was more usable despite being kind of smaller than we might have imagined, but also something that allows our kids to come home from school, immediately open the door out into quite an inviting and safe space. And that's been the biggest change for us in lifestyle, is that actually we spend a lot more time outside, which is so important, especially with the light that comes in at the back. It feels more open, it feels like a bigger house somehow.
It was an existing building. There was an important opportunity to create a more civic building than what the public toilets were. We needed to reuse that building because of the nature of the site. To unlock it, we couldn't go to the sides or front and back. It meant that we had to go up. The only way was up. We retained the solum space, the slabs, the foundations. We retained the external brick and block enclosures, and then built up from that. We cantilevered front and back to try and maximise the use of the ownership of the site. Sitting right on the street corner, there's the long views. You come down the hill up from Broughton Street all the way down, and the roof was very important. We wanted to create a volume, a new pavilion, but also one that nestled into the surrounding city. So the roof light then creates a volume for the restaurant space that then opens the building up to bring sun in and to engage with the treetops on the bank beyond. We tried to make it out as small components as possible, but still being able to deliver what we were looking to achieve, and then I suppose reinvigorating it and making something new for the city.
The house was essentially a 1-bedroom flat to begin with the annex, which was totally ancient. But we did have quite a lot of space under with the cellar, and so the brief was really maximise the living spaces, create interest, access out to the garden, addressing the sun and the general aspect, utilising the level difference with the cellar below for the bedrooms. So in the morning, as you come up those stairs, you're into like the warmth of the timber linings, and hey presto, you're into this amazing space that's super light. So it's got that proper like feeling of ascending into a light space, which is quite cool. How do you make that work and flow? And the main choice of materials was really driven by a combination of client and architect, nice but subdued materials. The whole fireplace assembly, the stove, the concrete hearth, this log store beneath it. They've always had this little terrace, but now suddenly the stair down is that bit more. It's actually a lot better than it was. It's easier flowing, the material is all continuous. You're trying to create little glimpse views and little connections that you could easily do without, but they add a little bit of interest. But equally there's a bit of boldness to this with the white and black cladding. They're all little things, but it's enough. And I think the risk is sometimes you go too far and you create too many ideas.